Thank you all for coming. Any reason why you are embracing the bag? It's okay, I'm just joking. You can play. So thank you all. So the science of devotional service, the preliminary guidelines for the science of devotional service are being discussed by Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Instruction. Now there's something interesting and important that we should understand when we discuss the science of devotion. In the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in verse number 1, Krishna explains to Arjuna saying, Raja Vidya Rajguhyam Pavitram idamuttamam Pratyakshavagavam dharmyam Susukam kartum avyayam. That this science of spiritual realization through the attainment of devotion, which I am about to describe in the 9th chapter, the Lord says is the king of knowledge. But this knowledge is not just a theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge can be inconclusive, and there could be so many opposing points to discuss, refute, discuss. Tark and vitark may be there. But this knowledge is not just about having a particular belief. It is a science of personal experience of a higher state of consciousness. Not just about believing that after death I will go to some heaven, that after death I will have no more births and deaths. That may be a belief now, but there is something tangible which the soul can experience here and now, and that is very important. Otherwise, most of the things in this world are dry arguments which are often inconclusive. In the scriptures, there is a very beautiful verse. Tarka apratishtha. It says, logic by itself is inconclusive in establishing the full truth. Hare Krishna, Sanjay Jai. For example, we were having, myself and Ashwini Prabhu were having a very interesting, stimulating discussion before we came here. It was connected to our political inclinations, and we were both arguing our point of view. And as expected, because political discussions are rarely conclusive on one side, so no matter how much you discuss, there will be an argument from this side, there will be an argument from this side, which is okay. It is okay to not agree on various points in this life, because it is very hard to establish truth simply on the basis of argument. It is practically impossible, because even after you have fully established truth, even with facts, even with everything, maybe at a later point in time you may be proven to be false. And the other way around also. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his own pastimes, as a great scholar, demonstrated this principle very wonderfully. He was the most expert in the science of Nyaya. In the Indian school of philosophy, Nyaya is the philosophy of logic. How to argue, how to debate, what are the right ways, what are the wrong ways, what are the various ways you can establish truth. So he was very, 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 very expert. So just to give you a small episode of his expertness, just a little bit what I remember, not details but at a high level. He would go and he would present a point to a group of scholars, and he would say this. Now you debate with me and counter it. So they would debate with him and they would counter it, and he would smash all their arguments to pieces. With such logic, I don't know, whatever data he used, whatever examples he used, he would smash everything. They would be, you are right. Whatever you said is correct. They would all accept defeat. After they would accept defeat and he would have proven his point, he will tell them, he will start arguing against the point that he established, which he had just proven correct. And he would give all the reasons to defeat the point which he had just proven correct. हाँ, ये भी सही है. This is also correct. We never saw it like this. All this is it's correct. It is false. But their argument of false was wrong. His argument of false was correct. So you see, very good like. He said, no, this is also wrong. He would argue then against that point which he had just established again back, again defeated. And he would convince everybody. And this would go on. He would establish a position, defeat all opposition, then he would go back and defeat the position he had just proven, then again go back with different levels of arguments which nobody could counter. This the Lord did to demonstrate that in the understanding of truth, logic and reasoning by itself is not conclusive. Also in this world, logic and reasoning can only help to some extent. It cannot fully establish because there are just too many dimensions and too many parameters which we cannot fully fathom. This doesn't mean we throw logic out of the window. We should still use logic and reasoning, but we have to be aware of the limitations, which is that nobody can ever say, I have the full understanding of what is the truth. We may be convinced at this point in time based on our understanding, our data, our analysis of a particular viewpoint. And as long as we are sincere and honest to ourselves, that is okay. But an open mind always is willing to see different perspectives. And as one sees different perspectives, one's understanding of the truth becomes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Most conflicts in this world are not because one party is fully right and the other party is fully wrong. It's because most of the time either one or both parties are egoistic, that they do not want to appreciate the merit of the argument of the other side. That is the main reason of the conflict. The problem is not, because it's rarely black and white. So one should admit the black on our side and also appreciate the white on the other side. There is some merit to your argument also. But then one has to have. So in the Indian system of philosophy, we will not go into that detail today because that's off topic. One day we can discuss. There is a beautiful way of how to reconcile these differences and come to a higher conclusion. And that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is establishing. You argue, you come to one. Then you look at it from a further higher perspective. You have a different level of arguments. At a higher level, you come to a higher conclusion. So there can be multiple levels of truth at different levels. And different people can appreciate different levels of truth based on their own maturity and depth of understanding and different levels of consciousness. A spiritual truth may seem absolutely irrelevant and immaterial to a person at a lower level of consciousness. What is this higher experience? Tell me what I can see, what I can taste, what I can eat, what comfort I can have. Anything else is nonsense, man. What is this higher? You got this hallucination, you go and hallucinate yourself. I don't know what to hallucinate. And for him at his level, that is the truth because he hasn't gone to a higher level of consciousness. But for a person who has experienced a higher level of consciousness, experiencing, man. You don't have to convince me. No matter what you argue, even if you defeat me in argument, my experience has already proven to me that this is so much better than all the experiences of this world. You understand? Correct? That's why Krishna says the highest conviction is pratyaksha avagamam, direct perception of the truth through experience. You realize sukham kartam, it is so beautiful and enjoyable to perform. So we want to bring our spiritual practice to that level. A level where you don't need to feel threatened when somebody argues against it and you feel, oh, I can't defend my standpoint. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? So that comes through a deepening of a spiritual experience. For me, or for most devotees who have practiced for some time and have some little experience of a higher taste, even if I am defeated logically and unable to argue anymore, it doesn't matter. It is not going to shatter my faith. Because I know arguments can be inconclusive. And maybe at that point in time, I may not be able to argue. Maybe at argument and intellect, that person may be smarter than me. But my faith is not only based on an intellectual understanding. Initially it may be. But through practice, we experience a depth of conviction which is based on a positive experience, where we know that this is rooted in a higher understanding and higher experience beyond the experience of the mind and senses and the intellect. Something higher. And that is where, and that understanding is what is technically called in scripture as Shraddha. It is misunderstood. The ordinary translation of Shraddha in the English vocabulary is belief or faith. But actually Shraddha has no equivalent exact word on the English side, because Shraddha is not a belief. Shraddha is not about a belief. Shraddha is about a deeper conviction based on a higher experience. There is an experience component in the Shraddha. It is not that I believe at the end of my life I will go to heaven, because somebody has intellectually argued and proven to me that yes, this person was a great Messiah and he has come and given a message. Yeah? And that may happen to be the truth also. I am not saying that is truth or not truth. That is not the argument. The point is, your understanding, is it based purely on an intellectual understanding or based on somebody else's version of the truth, or is it rooted in a higher? When I say higher, it means based on there's some experience component in it. Yeah? So that is called Shraddha. And that is why the definition Rupa Goswami gives. Sorry, I'm suffering from acute pharyngitis. Thank you. So the journey of a sadhaka is on this path of a deeper and deeper inner experience. Let's call it like this. Because Gita is not just about faith. Krishna makes it clear the 9th chapter itself. Midway, exactly, 18 chapters, right? First verse of 9th chapter. This is not just about me giving you a philosophical framework and you believing it and practicing for the rest of your life. This is about experience the joy of this topmost knowledge through realized, experienced practice, not just a following, believing that one day you will attain something after you die. You understand? Yeah? So, the whole journey of spiritual advancement is actually described by Rupa Goswami from Shraddha to Prem. In Port Dixon we discussed this, right? Adav Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Ata Bhajan Kriya, then Anartha Nivrutti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav. Very good. At least destination don't forget. Destination is Prem. So, the Acharya has explained, Rupa Goswami himself explains, this journey from Shraddha to Prem is actually the journey of Shraddha with little experience blossoming into Shraddha with full experience. You understand what I'm saying? You also have some Shraddha, but our Shraddha is based on a little experience. Somewhere we have experienced something higher, a little bit. And And then something higher can be as little as I experience some very different happiness in kirtan or in katha, a kind of happiness which I couldn't find anywhere else. And I can clearly see that by quality, it is of a totally different nature which I cannot get anywhere else. It could be as small as that. And that is often the starting point for most people. You see, this is the experience I want to deepen and realize, and that expands. And eventually that becomes prem. And when it becomes prem, essentially it is the full maturity of that faith with realization that one says, yes, to be happy and to be fully satisfied, all I need to is to connect with the Supreme Absolute Truth with full love. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudruda Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hai. The meaning of the word Shraddha, Rupa Goswami explains, is that firm conviction based on experience that if I simply engage fully in serving the Supreme Absolute Truth, who is the source of everything, automatically all other things are automatically achieved. Everything is satisfied. I don't need to do a separate endeavor. So that faith comes through experience, a deeper and deeper experience of the self. Okay? So while arguments have their place, just to emphasize, Bhagavad Gita is focused on using the arguments to be convinced enough to put to practice so that you get a higher experience. You understand? Because if you are not philosophically convinced, you will not take to practice. If you don't practice, you will not get experience. If you don't get experience, you will not have a higher conviction. And that is an iteratively growing journey. You understand? Okay, you are with me all this while? Okay, so Rupa Goswami is giving some of these higher principles, and in the next 3 verses, we try to discuss 3 verses today. We discussed first verse the last time, we discussed 2, 3 and 4. Verse number 4 we already discussed in politics and a bit, so I'm not going into details. 2 and 3 we'll discuss a bit. So he is giving the key guiding principles to guide sadhakas of how they should conduct themselves in this journey, so that they actually can get a proper experience. So that in your practice you get the fruit of the practice. Sadhana is done by a sadhaka to get a particular prayojana. Prayojana is a goal. So the sadhana is doing, so sadhaka is doing a sadhana, but if he doesn't do the sadhana properly, with the right understanding, or with the right effort, or with the right conditions, correct? When we studied chemistry, remember when we studied chemistry? When I first started learning chemistry, how many of you have studied chemistry? Almost everybody, right? At school. Okay. Chandra also studied. Okay. So when we write chemical equations, sometimes there will be a certain question. You write a chemical equation. This plus this is equal to this plus this. And wrote an answer, my teacher cut my marks, even though the equation was exactly correct. Can you guess why? Sham, chemistry student. Balanced equation.
You didn't name the reactants and products?
I named the reactants and products. I already answered 2 minutes ago.
Instead of putting the arrow sign, put the equal sign.
Okay, I'll not keep suspense. Many times we forget that even though we may say A plus B is equal to C plus D in an equation and all of that may be balanced, not all reactions take place under all conditions. Certain reactions require specific conditions for the reactions to happen. You understand? The chemistry student, which means certain reactions happen only at a certain temperature or at a certain pressure. So if you write an equation without specifying the conditions under which it happens, that means you state only half the truth. Correct or not? Yes? I say A plus B equal to C plus D. Will all the time A plus B equal to C plus D? If you are in freezing temperature, if you put A and B together, is it going to react? No, it will not. If it's under low pressure, will it react? No, it will not react. So in a reaction, you have to also specify the conditions under which the reaction is happening. Oftentimes we don't write this, but in that specific equation it was very important because the reaction only happens under that. I don't remember the reaction. But why I am mentioning this is, in the same way, for a sadhaka doing a sadhana, if the right conditions are not followed, the reaction will not produce the right result. Producing and mixing. The goreng is not happening properly. Correct? So there is some problem somewhere. So that is why the acharyas are giving us these guidelines of the positive things to ensure they are there, the negative things to avoid. These are all conditions, environmental factors, the latest temperature, pressure, presence of catalysts. Yes. So in the next three verses, three kinds of discussions are there. The first verse is about positive or negative. Okay. The first verse is about negative conditions to be avoided, which is verse number 2. First meaning what we are about to discuss. Yeah. The next verse is about the positive conditions which help the reaction to happen nicely. Then what remains? What is the third verse talking about? Third is talking about the catalysts in the reaction. In a chemical reaction there are also catalysts. Conditions is one thing, catalyst is different. And catalyst also one should mention if a catalyst is involved in the reaction. Yes. Which chemistry student will explain where in the reaction you will mention all these things in a balanced equation? Where you will mention the conditions and catalyst when you write the equation? Then when you say A plus B arrow, C plus D, on top of the arrow you have to specify the conditions and the catalyst if any. Okay, so I have not mentioned that in my mark was cut. So it has to follow. So what is positive condition? What is negative condition? What is the catalyst? So there are certain things which are catalysts in the spiritual reaction. So verse number 4 discusses about catalysts. Okay, so let's quickly go through these three things. Okay, this is important to understand. Otherwise, sometimes you wonder why all this is mentioned. All I have to do is sit and just chant Hare Krishna. But conditions apply. Yes, it is simple, but you have to execute the reaction under the right circumstances. Okay, fine. So verse number 2. I'll read the translation. First I'll read the verse. अत्याहार प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रहः जनसंगश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्ति विनश्यति. One's devotional service is spoiled. Nectar of instruction. What is that? You have it? Yeah. So I had forwarded the app also. It is there, or the URL also. I think it's forwarded. Yeah. I forwarded the app. Yeah, but otherwise you can just go to vedabase.net and there you have a list of books. There you can just click on it. You have it, huh? One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. What are the 6 activities? Again, these are negative things in the reaction. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. We just go through them first. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Or rejecting rules and regulations of scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5th, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6th, being greedy for mundane achievements. So essentially, if you analyze these 6 points, essentially what they boil down to, we discuss briefly each of them, essentially what they boil down to is that human life is meant for a higher focus of simple living and high thinking. If you try, most people want high living and high thinking, which sounds better. Definitely, it sounds better. Okay? But there is actually a fundamental flaw in it. There is a fundamental flaw in it. What is the fundamental flaw? As soon as you become too focused on high living, the high thinking suffers. It is like, seesaw. Push this side up, the other side goes down. So the thing is, we have to be a bit balanced. And Bhagavad Gita talks about balance. It doesn't talk about swinging totally in one direction. And it is possible. And it is possible and perfectly okay to have a decent, comfortable life in this material world, even as one is making spiritual advancement. There is absolutely no problem with it. The problem comes when there is a too much effort expended by a living entity, inordinate. And what is too much? That too much will be different for different people based on their current situation. Again, it cannot be very generalized. Too much for me may be different from a too much for a laborer and different from too much for Mukesh Ambani. But we'll not get into that discussion today. But I think you get the idea that if your mind is too preoccupied out of greed, either to acquire or to consume. I'm summarizing. Later, if you go through the items, you will essentially understand it is basically this that the verse is talking about. Either too busy consuming, or too busy gathering, or too busy working hard together, or associating with people too closely who have a similar mentality. And that is affecting you. Remember, association infects your mentality. Yes? Then you are very, very highly likely to be distracted from your focus on a higher goal. Okay? That is basically the point that Guru Goswami is trying to say. So he says, yes, work what is needed, and in fact Krishna emphasizes that to Arjuna. And Arjuna says, I am going to give up work. He says, hey, what are you talking? If you don't work, you can even maintain your body. Where did I tell you that detachment means not working? I never said this, Krishna tells. It is work, because without working you cannot even maintain the body. But work with the right motivation. Work with the right alignment with truth. Then work will not bind you. Otherwise work will bind you. Yajnarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Unless you do work as a sacrifice for a higher purpose, unless you do like that, work will bind you. That is the nature of the way the world is constructed. So that is very important to understand. Yeah. So essentially, this verse is talking about avoid these excesses, because these excesses will distract you from the path, and sometimes we may not be excessive ourselves, but if you are in the wrong association, we get too much pumped up. I'll tell you one story, but I hope the person I'm telling the story about doesn't see this video. The chances are remote, but you never know. Krishna may purposely put it there. But I'll still take a chance.
That makes sense actually.
Huh?
That makes sense also.
What makes
Actually,
sense?
when you look at this one, right?
Yeah.
So your sufferings are not because of your feeling them as a they may be not created by the gods who experience that pain or your examination.
Correct. Very simple thing, right? When your salary is 10,000, you are comparing with the person who earns 20,000. As soon as your salary reaches 20,000, you compare with the person who's earning 30,000. And it becomes 30,000 income. Okay. So, and there is no end to it. Correct. Even Mukesh Ambani is still not happy. Correct. And the highest example of this is Hiranyakashipu. He controlled the full universe, but he was still not happy. So this whole mentality of greed is an endless, insatiable. That's why Krishna says, no, there are two main enemies of the living entity. Kama Esha, Krodha Esha. This intense desire. Of course, Kam leads to Lobha. And frustration of Kama leads to anger. So Kama, Krodha, Natha Lobha, Krishna says. Lust, anger and greed. These will distract you. And sometimes we may not have it in so much proportion, but when we associate with certain circles, if those circles have a very strong environment of cultivation of, then we will get infected. So there was one devotee, again, not meant to criticize, who came and who wanted to shop in Malaysia. One lady came to Malaysia and wanted to shop for ladies' shopping bag. Okay. So fine, so my wife took her around, took her to a shop. Here you get first copy, because they didn't want branded means it was too expensive. Original branded means you get first copy shop. And this particular individual in that shop, my wife was thinking she probably buy one or two, but she bought 20. So why do you need 20? Are you distributing to all your friends when you go back? I said, no. Every day I have to change. How can I have, if I have the same bag, tomorrow when I am stepping out, as I had yesterday, the friends in my condominium, they laugh at me because they are changing their bag every day. And if I don't change mine, then I will see I'm not at par. So you have to keep up with the Joneses, as they say, right? Again, this is not a criticism of her, but this is what being in a particular environment sucks you into a particular mentality, which causes you to continuously accumulate and work much more harder than what is needed. And it is not that after having 20 bags you will be happier. By the way, after buying 20, next day she said, I want to buy more. But anyway, that's a different issue. But the point is that the living entity is so susceptible to the environment that they are actually exposed to, that they will come to believe that if I don't do this, I cannot be happy. Whereas the practical, grounded reality is very different. Okay? So all these things are important, because if one doesn't have the right bearing in life, one is not connected to those who are actually grounded spiritually. One may just get sucked into too much of an endeavor. You know, the greatest illusion in this material world is that illusion which makes you work so hard to be happy that working hard sucks away all your happiness. That is what is the trick of Maya. Okay, and why that happens? Kama, Esha, Kama and Lobh, lust and greed. Person works so hard, he goes through so much suffering for a little bit happiness. So the balance sheet is always unbalanced. He already had so much, but he wanted so much, or he thought he wanted so much, but he put in, the reality was, he put in so much more effort that out of what he had to reduce this much, and at the end he only got this much extra because he had neither time nor peace of mind to enjoy even what he acquired at the end of the day. So this is the trick that Maya plays. So you always end up in loss, but you pretend as if you are a happy, successful man, and everybody else envies. You understand? That is called the 2 paisa circus. You know the example of 2 paisa circus? Okay, I'll tell you the example of 2 paisa circus. How many of you have seen a circus in your life? You've been to Indian circus, right? Which circus?
Gemini.
Any other circus? The Great Russian Circus. And I have not seen in Malaysia so many circuses, but in India that used to be in our childhood. Now I don't know whether they still have. Anyway, so there was a circus, but there was a very special circus. There were beautiful billboards put outside saying this is a very far out circus, this is that, very special. But the circus only one person can see at a time. One person goes, enjoys the circus, comes out, only then the other person can go. Okay. And they had kept the ticket very cheap. In 2 paise you can attend the circus. This is old story, so 2 paise. That time they still had some value. Now you cannot even get 2 paise. So big line. Huge whole village was standing in the line. So 2 paise and the first person in. So first person goes in to the circus, the big tent. Nobody there around is looking on what is happening, what show is going to come. So one big bulky person comes there and calls, wait, so I come to see the circus. You come to see circus? You see circus in 2 paise? Those 2 paise at that time also was very trivial. 2 paise, here see circus, he gave one slap. You want to see circus? Come, he gave one more. And he beat him up.